Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
I'm a private investigator. I've got some book that says Super Mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
Tiffany Henyard, who once proudly referred to herself as a super mayor, now faces the fallout of a rapid and devastating fall from grace. Once the influential supervisor of Thoron Township, Henyard has been ousted from her position, evicted from her home, and is now under federal investigation. How did a leader who commanded so much local power spiral into scandal? From mounting legal battles to corruption accusations and unpaid rent, we're uncovering the events that led to her dramatic downfall.
The sheriff's been out here a few times to serve them. For a household that makes, over $350,000 a year.
The eviction that shocked the internet marked the beginning of Tiffany Henyard's rapid descent. She and her boyfriend, Cal Woods, were forced out of the suburban home they had lived in since 2021. Their landlord, Janetta Hull, claims the couple hadn't paid rent since August, leaving a mounting balance of thousands of dollars. Hull, who had once considered Henyard a friend and even helped with her campaign, described the situation as a complete betrayal. The rent had risen to $2,400 per month due to increasing property taxes, but Hull says Woods told her they couldn't afford the new rate, despite the couple's combined income exceeding $300,000. Henyard's roles as both mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, along with Woods' well-paying job in the township, made their financial situation all the more puzzling. As Hull put it, for a household making over $350,000 a year, how is it possible to not pay your rent?
A Dalton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now she wants...
The story takes an even more bizarre turn. Not only did Henyard and Woods reportedly stop paying rent, but Hull claims they also changed the locks and garage codes to keep her out of the property. If I try to go over there with a locksmith and change them back, I think she's probably going to have me arrested. Hull told reporters, her frustration evident. After filing eviction papers in September, Hull said Cook County sheriffs have been unable to serve them as the couple is nowhere to be found, neither at the house nor at Village Hall. For now, Henyard appears to be untouchable. Hull, who says she hasn't worked in months and relies on the rental income to stay afloat, is at her breaking point. At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you. Just pay your rent, she said, even if the couple eventually settles their debt. Hull added she still wants them gone.
Tiffany Henyard making a late appearance at the Dalton Village Board meeting this evening. That meeting was being held at the Park District building since Village Hall cannot legally accommodate the crowds at a typical meeting.
Just when it seemed things couldn't get worse for Tiffany Henyard, they did. Days after news of her eviction spread, she suffered another major blow to her political career. At a Democratic caucus held to select nominees for Thornton Township's upcoming April election, Henyard was blocked from running for re-election as supervisor. The gymnasium, packed with residents and political figures, was buzzing with anticipation for what many saw as the public rejection of Henyard's leadership. The caucus, overseen by State Senator Napoleon Harris, quickly descended into chaos. Henyard, arriving late in a bold hot pink pantsuit, immediately accused Harris of voter suppression, alleging that her supporters were being kept out of the venue while Harris's allies were allowed in first. "They had us waiting in the cold, letting 2 people in at a time," she shouted to reporters. "We had a long line around the block, and they never let us in." Harris's camp quickly dismissed the claims. An attorney representing Harris explained that the gymnasium had reached capacity due to early arrivals and that no one was intentionally excluded. "People were let in at the proper time," Harris stated, calling Henyard's accusations baseless. Inside the caucus, the mood was tense. Many attendees, frustrated by Henyard's controversies and abrasive leadership style, made their dissatisfaction clear. The caucus lasted only 7 minutes, with Harris and his slate of candidates decisively securing the Democratic Party's nomination for Thornton Township. Meanwhile, Henyard was left seething. "Illegal Napoleon," she shouted at Harris as the crowd erupted in cheers for the winning candidates. For many, it was a long-awaited moment. As Henyard stormed out of the room, attendees began singing the classic taunt, "Nah, he can't stay. Goodbye." turning the event into a symbolic farewell to the embattled supervisor.
It's one thing to win, but let's do it properly and let the people really have a voice. The people's voice was taken today.
Henyard's removal from the race went beyond just the caucus rules. Her failure to meet the necessary requirements for a full slate of candidates, most notably the absence of a certified assessor on her ticket, played a crucial role. But the caucus also exposed something deeper, a community that was increasingly fed up with her scandals. Critics argued that her time as supervisor had been marred by allegations of lavish spending, self-promotion, and the misuse of taxpayer funds. It wasn't just residents voicing their frustration. Social media was relentless in its criticism. One user remarked, "Stop saying misuse of funds. She flat out stole tax dollars and blew it lavishly. That's not misuse of funds." Another commented, "How did she get to this point? A few years ago, she got busted for breaking into cars. She's always been a professional thief. She just recently added con artist to her resume." These comments reflect the growing disillusionment with Henyard's leadership, with many feeling that her past actions had finally caught up to her. The online backlash mirrored the sentiments of the community, who now seemed ready to move on from the embattled former supervisor.
2 agendas, 2 meetings in different locations. It was a little confusing for some residents, but the meeting here at Village Hall canceled after a few minutes because they didn't have a quorum.
Henyard isn't going down without a fight. She's already vowed to sue everyone involved in the caucus, claiming the process was rigged and illegal. "I will be suing everybody tomorrow. This is illegal." She shouted as she stormed out of the event. Her attorney, Max Solomon, backed her up, accusing State Senator Napoleon Harris of creating unfair last-minute rules designed to disqualify her. Henyard lashed out further, calling Harris a coward for not allowing the people to have their say. Despite her defiance, the list of controversies surrounding Henyard only continues to grow. In addition to the eviction and the caucus debacle, she is now under federal investigation for the alleged misuse of taxpayer funds. A report by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired as a special investigator, uncovered staggering financial mismanagement. Dalton's general fund balance, which was $61 million in 2022, is projected to plunge to a $365 million deficit by May 2024. The report also highlighted extravagant spending, including $43,000 spent on Amazon in a single day and more than $85,000 on a poorly attended concert. Residents have accused Henyard of using taxpayer money for personal luxuries such as first-class flights, beauty vendors, and self-promotional billboards. One trustee even described her leadership as a dictatorship, saying she prioritized her own image over the community's needs. But perhaps most staggering was the revelation that Henyard allegedly pushed for a massive salary cut for future township supervisors, slashing the position's pay from over $200,000 to just $20,000 annually. Critics quickly labeled this move a blatant attempt to discourage any future competition and ensure that no one could replace her, even if she were forced out. Municipal Attorney Bert Odelson condemned the tactic, calling it illegal on multiple levels and a violation of state law, further eroding public trust in local government.
We believe strongly that that meeting was improperly called and improperly held. The residents of Dalton.
Even Henyard's cancer charity, once a key part of her public image, has come under fire. The Tiffany Henyard CES Foundation, which was supposed to empower cancer survivors, was recently ordered by the Illinois Attorney General to cease accepting donations after failing to register with the state. Critics argue that the foundation had become little more than a vehicle for Henyard's self-promotion, with little transparency about where the funds were actually going. "It's just one more thing she's using to boost her image while the rest of us suffer," said community activist Stephanie Wheatman. For many, these revelations have only reinforced the belief that Henyard's time in office has been more about personal gain than public service. The financial mismanagement under her leadership has had real and painful consequences for Dalton's residents. The Illinois State Comptroller's Office cut off funding to the village after Henyard failed to provide the required financial reports. Meanwhile, the town's deficit continues to balloon, leaving trustees scrambling to address the mess she's created. Residents have had enough. Many are now calling for Henyard's resignation. She's done nothing but embarrass this town. It's time for her to go, said Deborah Jordan, a lifelong Dalton resident. As the fallout from Henyard's numerous scandals intensifies, it seems increasingly unlikely that she will be able to salvage her political career.
Does all this point the finger to Tiffany or allow me? I'm over it. Now it's time for me.
Yet, despite the mounting opposition, Henyard remains undeterred. She has announced plans to run for a second term as mayor of Dalton, vowing to make a comeback. At a recent village board meeting, she boldly declared, "No, I am going to come through on a landslide, just like Trump did. Like it or not, I am your mayor." However, her defiant words were met with boos, and many residents turned their backs on her as she spoke. Trustee Jason House, who is also running for mayor, pointed out that morale in the town's police department has reached an all-time low, with the department struggling without a permanent chief and the weight of lawsuits, investigations, and public backlash hanging over them. Henyard's future in politics appears increasingly uncertain. Can she recover from this wave of scandals, or has her political career reached its breaking point? Some of her supporters, like Keith Price, still hold out hope. "I think enough people know her name to write her in, and I believe we could still win it," Price said, referring to the possibility of Henyard running as a write-in candidate for Thornton Township supervisor. But many others aren't so sure. Henyard's story is far from over, but one thing is clear: the self-proclaimed super mayor has fallen from grace in spectacular fashion. With eviction proceedings underway, investigations looming, and her political power slipping away, the big question remains: how much lower can she go? What do you think? Is this the end of Tiffany Henyard's career, or will she find a way to bounce back? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this ongoing saga. Until next time.